What's up, everybody? Welcome back inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center for another practice report presented by Byers Auto. I think we should actually call it the Student Appreciation Day report. The students have now been appreciated. They're gone. The players have all vacated the field, most of them at least. And Lettermen Row has plenty of takeaways after a jam-packed day with the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's Tim May, the 40-year vet. That's Andy Backstrom. I'm Spencer Holbrook. Tim, first takeaway from Ohio State Student Appreciation Day. Got to watch the full thing. What'd you think?
Can I have two quickies?
Go ahead. You always do.
Number one, Kenyatta Jackson. We've gotten to watch two scrimmage kind of situations in 2 weeks now. He jumps off the chart. He's always making plays. You know, there's a guy that you got to keep your eye on. And Cardinal Tate made one of the great catches I've ever seen on the sideline. That's incorporating all of those young receivers who I think have looked good. So I've got about 50 takeaways, but those are my first two that I really wanted to make sure I mentioned.
Defensive line as a whole won the day, and Ryan Day talked about that. It seemed like for the second straight scrimmage, really, that was the result. Defense in total won this scrimmage, and something that was talked about afterwards was the quarterbacks, of course. They wanted to know what's the progression of that, and Ryan Day said that, you know, it's still a day-by-day thing. You need guys stacking good days. That necessarily hasn't happened yet. They're still looking for that separation between one quarterback and the next.
Yep.
So that's still an ongoing process.
Isn't it funny how little phrases come along, you know, they kind of seem the theme for whatever a span of time, and stacking days is that little phrase this year.
Yeah, it's the phrase of the spring so far. You know, like I said on I think a previous video, it was like a couple springs ago, maybe last spring was competitive excellence. Stacking days is this one, and the winners and losers. You know, that's the theme of this spring, I think, for these Buckeyes. And the winner of the day, like you said, defensive line. The loser of the day, offensive line. I mean, they're shuffling guys in and out. Zen Mahalski did not practice. Ryan Day said not a long-term issue. We saw Matt Jones take a lot of reps, but not all of the reps. We saw, you know, freshmen in and out. We saw sophomores in and out of there. Enoch Vimahi getting some real run.
Yep.
The tackles, you know, trading spots, trying to think of things to maybe shuffle around there. So I'm not going to pin it as a complete loss for the offensive line. There's
I wouldn't either. You know why?
Go ahead.
Because I thought the running backs, Dallin Hayden and Chip Trainum, had a good day.
Yeah, no.
So they're running behind something, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I just think that
100%.
When it comes to the pass rush, and we've said it all spring, Tim, I think, you know, you keep saying it, it's like the defensive line is told to go get the quarterback.
Right.
The offensive line is trying to learn everything right now. And so, yeah, the defensive line's going to win. Also, newsflash, Mike Hall's really good at football. Ty Hamilton is very good at rushing the passer. So is Tyleik Williams. So is JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer. So, like, Kenyatta Jackson, another guy who won another scrimmage. We keep saying his name, beating the drum there. Ryan Day keeps saying consistency from that defensive line. When we're in the building, it's consistent. I think they have the media schedule. Because when we're in here, they're all very consistently demolishing the offensive line. But apparently they're not always consistent because we keep hearing that.
Yeah, and I asked Ryan Day. I mean, you know, he's got to feel fairly enthused with what I call, you know, I know you're always getting on to me about my old sayings. I'm up for any new saying, but the esprit de corps of this defense is pretty obvious.
I don't know what that means.
They still give up a play or two throwing the ball, but you know what? You're going to do that against pretty good quarterbacks and really good receivers.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen, but this defense, man, when we've gotten to watch them in a scrimmage situation, has gotten after it. And not just the first team guys, backup guys. Davis and Igbinosin, guy we got to talk to earlier this week. I mean, he had a great interception, you know, early on in the practice. And
on Kyle McCord.
Yeah, exactly. And the point is, you've got some guys really getting after it on that defensive side of the ball. But obviously, there are still leaks that have to be, what do you call it? Leaks that have to be shored up.
Yeah.
But that's going to happen with any defense against any offense in the spring. But he's got to be encouraged by what he's seeing from the defense.
I would agree with that. I think there are some encouraging signs from the offense. You know, I think Kyle McCord, Devin Brown both had their bright spots today. I don't think either of them are polished and finished and ready to go win a national championship on April 1st. There's great news, though. They don't have to be. And so, you know.
Wait, let me write that down.
It's weird because we keep kind of grading them like, well, is it going to be a drop-off from C.J. Stroud? Well, he's going to be the #1 overall pick in the draft because everyone knows how polished he is on April 1st, 2023. Devin Brown and Kyle McCord do not need to be anywhere near polished on April 1st, 2023. And that's great news for Ohio State. If we're having this conversation on September 1st, and I see what I saw out there from both quarterbacks on September 1st, I will be a little down on this team. But what I saw today, I think, is pretty good progress from March 25th to April 1st, I think it's a good step. I don't think either of them were perfect, but I thought they did some things right. I thought they did some things wrong, some things worth exploring on the film. Didn't see either of them get chewed out today.
I thought they were both pressing early in the throwing sessions. You know, a lot of balls into the ground in front of receivers and things like that. I mean, I thought as the day went on, both of them sort of progressed from the standpoint of timing, throwing the ball down the field especially. But man, it's tough in those 11-on-11s when your offensive line is in a rebuilding mode. I'll just leave it at that. I got to stand by. That's what I love about the Student Appreciation Day. It should be both mad and sad. Student Appreciation Day and mad Media Appreciation Day, because I stand right behind the quarterbacks there on that one session, and it's just chaos in front of them. And all of a sudden, Kenyatta Jackson flashing in there. This was a sack by JT Tuimolo out of that. That was a sack. So I'm sure it gets kind of frustrating for quarterbacks when they're trying to make a name for themselves, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's the most conducive environment for Devin Brown's skill set, because you see so many times where he's wanting to run outside of the pocket and make a throw, and he actually did make some great throws outside of the pocket, those off-platform throws that we really talk about with quarterbacks nowadays, but they blow the play dead before it's even completed, so they don't even really count in this scenario. But it is maybe what they're trying to do is make them better in the pocket, so there's it's a reason to do what they're doing. They're also trying to protect these guys. Another encouraging sign, though, for the offense is Travion Henderson was out here and doing a little bit more than what we've seen him doing. He was supposed to be pretty much out all spring, but he was running routes with the other running backs. He was out there in cleats today, and Ryan Day said that it was great to see him making some strides in terms of his recovery from his injury last season.
Well, as Travion Henderson starts to come back, Mayan Williams did not practice today, was over in the pit. Ryan Day believes not really an issue. A couple other guys, Jahad Carter went down. Ryan Day did say that everything looked pretty good there. He was helped off the field. Ryan Day did comment on it, so it's kind of fair game to
basically
talk about it.
Like he said, his initial report was it's nothing long term or whatever. It was a knee situation when they helped him off, and that was too bad because from all reports, he was starting to come on. The transfer from Syracuse.
And so, there's some moving parts here. Like I said earlier in this video, Zen Mahalski did not practice. And so it's just one of those days of spring practice, and Marvin Harrison only did a little bit of stuff. Wasn't really out here that much. You see Julian Fleming and Mecca Buka walking around here. Neither of them are practicing. And so you take everything you see right now with a grain of salt. I thought it was a pretty good day overall, top to bottom, 1 to 85, 1 to 120. For this team, I think it probably would chalk this up as we got better today. And so I think that's really the goal, especially on Student Appreciation Day when the students are in here. It's a big environment. There's a lot of people just around. If you get through this thing, just thinking, okay, we did a decent job, I think you can put 2 thumbs up for the day.
And I was watching Brian Hartline call plays.
A lot learned,
I'm just talking about our conversation earlier in the week, number one. But I'm telling you guys, we'll see how it goes. But we've gotten to watch 2 scrimmage situations. And number 15, Jelani Thurman, still jumps off the page at me, man. I mean, the tight end from Georgia. It's going to be interesting to watch that room develop, if there's any hopscotch going on in that room from a possible playing time situation, et cetera. But for a guy who's just been here since, January, he is impressive. And not saying he's better than Cade Stover or any of those other guys, but when he's in there, he makes plays, and they had him in there doing a lot of blocking today, which I think really they want to see come on in his game. But he's a handful to cover, and because he's a mismatched nightmare, 6'5", 6'6", 255 pounds. There's a guy I'm going to keep my eye on for sure.
So, Andy, is there anybody you have your eye on as we start to wrap things up?
Well, I think Carnell Tate is the one that's really just jumped out, as Tim mentioned earlier in the video. He seems like someone that could even really make a push for some playing time. Maybe it's early in the season, maybe it's not in Big Ten play. The other guy that we're waiting on is Brandon Innes, and I'm kind of interested to see which one of those two wins out.
Well, he's for a full week.
Been here visiting, but he's not part of the team in terms of practicing with these guys in spring ball yet. But I'm interested to see if which of those two stands out the most in this really talented group of wide receivers that came in this year. And that's what I'm looking at. And also just
Noah Rogers and Bryson. Noah,
they're here as well, and they're doing great too.
They had a couple of pretty good plays too. And go ahead, I'm sorry. I just wanted to throw those in there. It's interesting.
No, so definitely Carnell and that whole group of wide receivers I'm looking at. And I'm just still, again, not to harp on it too much, but the quarterback situation, I want to say, like, even though there were some troubles in the actual live periods, some of the other periods we were watching in terms of like the red zone stuff was an improvement today versus the first scrimmage that we saw. I felt like the quarterbacks were going through their reads better. They were just more accurate down there. And yes, they're not facing the defensive line in that period, but in terms of accuracy, timing, precision, making their reads, I felt like there was improvement there. So again,
there was a time where Kyle McCord went 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 as a check down, and hit a running back wide open in the flat that would have been a touchdown. The running back just dropped it. But I was impressed with that too. I was going to make that comment, like,
was that 11 on 11 though?
No, that was a 7 on 7. But it's one of those examples, like you just said. He gets through all of those reads.
It's easy to do when there's no rush.
Right, but
no, I'm not being a smart aleck.
But it is a big improvement.
His big, I mean, golly, I felt sorry for those quarterbacks at times today. Because you just don't have time to even think sometimes. I mean, Kenyatta Jackson was in the backfield so quick a couple of times, just like he lined up back there. JT threw him over. Yes, practice, right? He came on like he had a tip pass one time, he had a tap sack another, and he was in there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to get your feet under you and even know what's going on in front of you. I give him an A for effort, but sort of like a C for execution in a lot of those kind of situations. By the way, I want to run this by you guys. A guy that I kind of keep forgetting about, who I thought had a good spring last year, at least when we got to watch, and I thought had a pretty good day today, is Kai Stokes at one of those safety spots. And then I'm looking out there, and Josh Proctor, Josh Proctor's playing the way I always thought Josh Proctor would play.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's playing pretty well. Are you being a smart aleck there? Or
you've always beat the drum for Josh Proctor.
I know. But now there's a dance to go with the drum.
Maybe.
But I'm just curious how things are going to shake out in that secondary, especially among the safety group, because, like I said, several of those guys. Ken Martinez. Right on down the line, they made some plays today, and wow. You never thought you'd say they might have too many safeties, but it's going to be interesting.
So I got my eye on two guys.
The May period is going to be interesting to watch, I guess is what I'm saying.
I'm going to give my guys that I've got my eye on. One of them I'm actually legitimately have my eye on right now. I'm going to go off the field because today was not just a big day for the current Buckeyes, but a lot of recruits watched that practice today. Two guys in particular, 4-star running back, the Peoples running back, James Peoples from Tim?
Veterans Memorial High School north of San Antonio, Texas.
So he's a Tim May guy, he's a Texas guy, and left-handed quarterback from Georgia, Air Nolan, both of them in the house today to watch practice. Air Nolan stood with Corey Dennis for most of practice. James Peoples chatting it up with Trey Van Henderson, who wasn't practicing as much today. Both of those guys, names to watch, names to know.
Oh, yeah.
Quarterback, running back. The Buckeyes had a big day on the trail today, and the recruiting staff.
Had Matt Parker already forecast James Peoples
to Ohio State? Yes.
Yeah.
So
we'll see if it happens.
We'll see if it. And today was a big step toward that, and that's why I've got my eye on both of them after today. Matt Parker doing a great job over at the recruiting department at LettermenRow.com. We're covering the team at LettermenRow.com, the Ohio State football team, that is. If you didn't notice, crazy thing happened this weekend. Yesterday, in my daily life, I went and got my hair cut. Let the fellas at Lettermen Row know I was getting my hair cut. Well, it turns out recruiting guy Matt Parker was also on his way to get a haircut. Guess what? Andy Backstrom was also on his way to get a haircut. I show up today, and the lettuce in the back of Tim's head is a little trim. All four of us at Lettermen Row.
I've got spun silver. Spun silver in the back.
All four of us at Lettermen Row began April with fresh haircuts. I think that's a sign that the good things are coming for all of us and for LettermenRow.com. You can catch all of that good stuff. LettermenRow.com, $30 until the end of August. That's cheaper than a haircut most of the time now.
Yeah.
The 40-year vet Tim May, he'll be there writing stories about this very day, this Student Appreciation Day. So will Andy Backstrom. So will Matt Parker on the recruiting side. I am Spencer Holbrook. I'll be there as always. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you back in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center later this week for another practice report presented by Byers Auto.